Okay, good morning everybody and welcome to our meeting. And this meeting has been reconvened from Te Rangimārie Marae and it's 9:30. And just a reminder that this meeting is being live streamed. Could we all stand for the karakia please? Kia tōna ngā ki tanga a te mea ngaro, ki rua, ki tēnā o tātou, kia mānia te rua mā kirikiri, kia toi te kupu, toi te ngana, toi te aroha, toi te reo Māori, kia tutu, kia whakamoa, kia tīna, ue, tākire. Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest? No. There are no late items. And the first item on the agenda is the report advising councillors that the declaration of the final result for the 2025 triennial election has been publicly notified. And I'll hand over to our Chief Executive, Kim.
Karen, this one.
Thank you. Kim and Karen show.
This is the first of a number of procedural reports that we are required to bring to Council on the very first meeting of the new Council. This one being the results around this table of the final election, and that we have publicly notified the final election results. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
I'm willing to move that the report be received, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Caffel, seconded by Councillor Holmes. All those in favour? Aye. The motion is carried. Thank you. Now we move on to the next page, which is 5.2, explanation of legislation affecting elected members. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Worship. The second of the procedural reports, we're required to report to you on key pieces of legislation that affect the way that you operate and the behaviours that you must demonstrate around the table and outside into the public arena. There's a lot of information in there, and I know that you all have paid that high regard. There's very serious matters in there around behaviours, conflicts of interests, and potential criminal matters, so that we are required to bring those to your attention. And of course the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, how we run these meetings, and the requirements that you have of council under the Local Government Act. So I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Maharani.
Just te pihi tātou. What's the implication for the iwi reps to comply to these code?
Thank you, good question. So some of the pieces of legislation apply only to members, so Local Authorities Members' Interests Act will only require to apply to members, but other legislation is around like the conduct of conflicts of interest and how you declare those, how we actually go about our business under the Local Government Act and Lagoima, and so those operate to apply at the council levels and council doing those things. So it depends on the piece of legislation and it depends on what the Act is itself.
Can I ask a supplementary? Do I have to stand for that? Yeah, I really get my steps in. So is it possible to do some sort of a picture or a table to show where our responsibilities and expectations lie?
Absolutely, we will follow up with that.
Thank you. Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. This is probably for Karen. Just in regards to predetermination, when it states the test for predetermination is whether the member has an actual closed mind, how would that be measured?
Do you want to answer? Sorry.
Foreshadowing that I'd like to ask a question.
Okay. So predetermination or bias can be shown in actual predetermination. For example, I'm definitely not going to pay attention to anything that's been provided to me. It doesn't matter what the evidence suggests. I have a closed mind on this. Would be very, very clear, but unlikely statement that anybody would make. Then there's, how you act and how you behave. You must always be able to demonstrate that you've got an open mind. You may have made previous statements, for example, on your particular views around particular matters, but when it comes to if a decision is required about that matter, you must always be demonstrating that you've got an open mind about that. How you do that is how you act, how you ask questions, those sorts of things. It will be really for somebody to say, actually, I don't think, given your previous behaviour and the behaviour you're demonstrating now, that you actually have an open mind about this particular matter, and then that would need to be investigated.
So how would that come up? What would be if David was to show, just use as an example, David, not for a specific example, predetermination, who would say David was doing that, or Councillor Holmes was doing that?
Anybody would be able to say that, but if it's a matter under the Code of Conduct, then it would be raised through to the Chief Executive or to members around the table about the code, because it would be a breach of the Code of Conduct. It's also a breach of the common law, so that would be demonstrated through, mainly through risk to council decision making. So if council made a decision and it appeared to be that the members were predetermined, and there could be a case of challenging that risk maybe to the Office of the Auditor General or to the Ombudsman, or through a judicial review if it was really a serious matter. So somebody would challenge that.
And is there a time frame for predetermination? Like, is it the meeting before if you show a strong preference for a particular thing? Is that predetermination?
It would be where you don't demonstrate that you've got an open mind about a particular decision that's in front of you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bowyer?
Page 10, local authorities, members' interests. The Act provides that no person shall be elected or appointed to local authority if that person blah, 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 blah. The figure in there is 25,000. I thought that had changed.
I think it's going through Parliament at the moment. It hasn't gone through yet.
Okay.
Councillor Collins?
Kia ora. I wanted to make a statement, but in regards to the previous point, I thought there was questions first, and then we went into the opportunity to discuss. Is that correct?
Normally, yeah.
So we have questions now and then discussion.
In regards to the outcomes of the election?
If you have questions, then we can...
No.
You missed the opportunity for
Oh,
discussion.
sorry.
We only ask for questions.
Can we
No,
just...
so that's, we've moved that paper.
Okay.
Yeah, so the opportunity is...
Okay. Is that correct?
On that one.
Yeah, it is.
I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that we retain the Māori wards and how much of an amazing thing that is for our community.
Fantastic. Thank you. Did we have any further discussion on this? Okay. I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation. Seconded by Councillor Bowyer. All those in favour? Aye. The motion is carried. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Apologies for that. Number 5.3 on page 23. This is discussing the council appointments and remuneration policy. I'll hand over to the policy manager to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll take the report as read, but I would like to draw the council's attention to a couple of matters regarding appointments, and then a couple of matters regarding remuneration. So the current council appointments policy was made in 2019, so it is due to be updated. And under section 57 of the Local Government Act, the council must adopt a policy that sets out an objective and transparent process with respect to director roles with council organisations in relation to three things. So required skills, knowledge and experience, the appointment process itself, and remuneration. There is no regulatory requirement that such a policy also be established in relation to appointing and remunerating external members to council committees or to any potential future council advisory group. But having such a policy will be good practice and will also provide a standardised structure within which the council could operate. So while the current policy focuses solely on appointments to council organisations, the proposed policy covers both appointments and remuneration, and with respect to a wider set of groups. So that's council organisations, committees, and any potential future advisory group. So the aim is to align the policy closer to the intent of the law regarding objectivity and transparency, and to allow members of the community with skills, experiences and knowledge a fairer crack at the opportunities. Just a couple of things with regards to remuneration. So the council currently takes an ad hoc approach to remunerating external appointments. There is no remuneration for external appointments to council organisations. An honoraria of $150 per meeting for external appointments to advisory groups is paid, plus some expensive, but this is not grounded in a council policy. And there's a rate for the external chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, previously $2,200 per meeting, including prep time plus expenses, but this sits outside any formal policy framework. So a total of just over $24,000 per annum is currently paid to external members appointed to relevant committees and advisory groups, but without the support of a standardised or comprehensive remuneration policy framework. So we've considered a range of options and put them in front of you regarding how we might take a standardised and consistent approach. And the proposed approach is to align honoraria with the Cabinet Fees framework, which is what most other councils do. So this option would target the level of remuneration to the nature of the respective roles and align them with payments for similar roles across the public sector. And I'm happy to take questions.
Do we have any questions?
Yep.
Councillor Goodwin. Stand up, please.
So there's no requirement to have a policy establishing this relation, appointments, etc. And I just wonder about developing a policy when we have a new mayor. We are exploring different ways of doing business, and to me, we should go down that path before any thought about policies, and then I would suggest that the next mayor quite possibly will have their own process. So I'm asking, is it, sometimes can staff be a bit keen to develop a policy when sitting back and waiting and seeing what happens might be?
I hear what you're saying. So there's two parts to this policy. One part is under the law we must make a policy and we don't have any option about that, and because the previous policy has expired, then we really have no option about that, and that is with regard to appointments to council organisations. What this policy is proposing is that we also add in, use the same process for appointments to external appointments to council committees and any future advisory group, if there was one. The policy has a life. Currently it's proposed that its life be for 2 triennium, but you could make the decision to make it for 1 triennium and let the next mayor decide on a different policy, entirely up to you. There's also the option with the remuneration part of this policy to change the fees to align with Cabinet Fees framework changes at any time.
Any other questions? Councillor Nelson?
Thank you. So I think I've got this right. The recommendation stating that it's only an extra $5,300 per year. That's the cap we're looking at.
Yes and no. So it's a tricky one doing the costings because we've had to base the costings on making an assumption that there is exactly the same number of groups and appointments as the previous triennium, and that's likely to be different this triennium. So actually the total cost is probably going to go down.
Go down?
Yeah.
So less than 5,000?
Yes. Yeah.
Councillor Holmes?
Just a question about the new chair for the audit committee. Is that, just to reconfirm, is it going to be advertised? It is going to be advertised.
It will be, yes.
Yeah, and we share it with Cardiff,
Yes.
and that's going to continue.
Cardiff have expressed interest in going into partnership again.
So I see what the fee is for a day. Does that include airfares and things? Because it'd be quite nice to have a local person to sort of get the cost of that.
Yeah, we'll go through so expenses are additional on top of that. However, the current arrangement is that the person who is our current chair travels and does multiple councils, and we share the cost with that. So we will run a process anyway, and yeah,
Thank you.
It makes sense.
Councillor Collins?
Kia ora, just wondering if we could do a rewording of underneath the title of implications for Māori and include tikanga and te reo Māori knowledge and expertise. As part of, instead of may attract the skills, experience and knowledge of more Māori people, which is quite a generic statement, if we can please reword it to include that may attract the skills and experience, including tikanga and te reo Māori and expertise.
No problem.
Yep, no problem. Councillor Floon?
Thank you. Does this include council control organisations in the local water done well stakeholder group?
No, so the local water done well is out of scope, and that's because this is made under the Local Government Act, and the appointments there are under the Water Services Act.
Councillor Bowyer?
Yeah, page 33, it talks about comparisons of the actual versus upper estimated, and it talks about appointees to council organisations in the previous triennium, okay, and it says that we didn't pay anything. Does that mean that that going forward, those people appointed to Destination Wairarapa, Montfort Trimble Foundation, they will be paid?
Yes.
Okay, right. That's the difference between the two.
That's a big difference.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Lennox?
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Just in regards to your preferred option, given what Councillor Goodwin spoke about, would this give us the most flexibility? I guess given there's some decisions still to be made around groups and advisory groups, etc.
It gives you absolute flexibility. It's not saying that you need to appoint anyone to any particular organisation or set up advisory groups. It's just saying if you did, here's the process we recommend you follow.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a mover or a seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Bowyer.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
Are we put in the cart for the horsey, please, in regard to, we haven't had the discussion about committee structure yet, and we're talking about remuneration. So I think that I don't know how you do this, but the appointments policy is good. I think that's the right thing to do. It's good to have a structure with that and allow externals. But I think the fee structure talks about a saving. Yet we haven't actually had the discussion about how advisory group members would be. If we do have an advisory group, because there's an issue which comes to the community connectors, we're going to have a payment on that basis. So are we missing? Are we too early on the second part of it?
So yes, as Angela stated, it's based on the assumptions of the previous triennium. If that changes, if the council decides to have more groups and more appointees, then it will cost the council probably more than what it had last time. But noting there's also that increase for the Montfort Trimble and Destination Wairarapa. If the council decided to have no groups, then yes, it would be a comparison.
So it's demand-driven budget.
This is really, as Angela said, setting out the best practice and the legislative requirements for making sure we have an open and transparent and accountable process.
Okay, yep, thank you for the explanation.
Okay, so we have it moved by councillor Bowyer and seconded by councillor Lennox. Now we're open for discussion. Any further discussion? Okay. Councillor Goodwin?
I just wonder if this should be delayed until we have sorted out over the next short time what we're doing with committees and stuff.
My only comment to that would be that it puts in a platform for should we have committees or should we appoint people. It doesn't tell us that we have to have committees and we have to appoint people, but it's got a foundation there which is best practice. So as Councillor Lennox pointed out, there's flexibility to it, and we can move forward on our discussions with what we do with committees and appointments, which won't actually affect this. So we're happy to proceed. I've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now we move to number 5.4, which is committee structure and appointments. Over to you, Karen.
47.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's no microphone. Sometimes you can just hard to hear. Right way round. I'm just going to hold it, I think. It's fine. Brute strength and ignorance, that's what I needed. Thanks, Harriet. Okay, thank you. So this paper is following on some discussion that ELT and the Mayor and councillors have had around what might be the appropriate structure for the council committees and appointments moving forward. So I'm just going to run through some technicalities that is important to understand in setting out this structure for you to be able to make that decision. So under the Local Government Act, the Mayor has a number of powers to make appointments. They include appointing the Deputy Mayor and establishing committees of the Council and appointing chairpeople to those committees. Now, Council collectively also has the ability to appoint committees and appoint members and chairs of those committees, or the committees appoint the chairs. There's different ways of doing things. So it's clear that there's the mayoral powers and then the council powers to do this, and the council can obviously appoint, as we've just been talking about, external members to some advisory groups or other working groups that it chooses, that it feels that it needs to help it do its job. So taking those points, the recommendations are worked through. The Mayor has made a decision around the appointment of the Deputy Mayor as Craig Bowyer, and has made the appointment to establish two committees, which is the Finance, Risk and Assurance Committee, with the chair as Philip Jones for the first meeting, until the appointments and remuneration policy is applied and a replacement or a future appointee under that policy is made. The Hearings Committee, and appointing Councillor Craig Bowyer to that committee. The second point comes to noting that furthering iwi representation on the council around this table in providing advice to council and then through the committees operating in a decision-making capacity. Miharangi Hollings has been nominated to represent Rangitani o Wairarapa, and Robin Putakaranga to represent Ngāti Kahungunu ki Wairarapa at the council and its committees. The report also identifies members to be appointed to those committees, and they're outlined in attachment 2. Noting that the Mayor is a member of all committees by virtue of the Local Government Act. We also have in the report the terms of reference for those committees, and they haven't changed significantly. We've just tidied up a few errors compared to the last terms of reference in the previous triennium. And the name has changed to recognise the very important financial component of the finance committee. We also have in attachment for the members to be appointed to the external committees and organisations that have been listed, noting that we still have the Wellington Regional Waste Management and Minimisation Joint Committee and the Wellington Region Waste Forum that has not yet had an appointee indicated, so we're requesting that is made at this meeting. The District Licensing Committee is a permanent committee. We're required to have that by statute, so this report identifies what that committee does, and we are requesting that Councillor Craig Bowyer be appointed as Deputy Chair to that committee for this triennium. And we're also noting that the Wairarapa Combined District Plan Joint Committee, which was a joint committee in the previous two trienniums to work through the review of the district plan, there's still some outstanding work to be done for the plan. We're in the appeals process at the moment, and if there are any appeals to the Environment Court, we will need to reappoint a committee to assist with working through those appeals. We'll come to you if that is the case in the future to appoint that committee, because there will be different terms of reference. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Holmes?
Just got one question on the hearings committee. I thought we agreed the other day that Councillor Lennox be added to that. She was prepared to do her course.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I've actually brought that to the attention of officers, and it was an error. So we're adding Councillor Lennox to that. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Nelson?
This is for you. Just with the significant responsibility for the Deputy Mayor, can you just explain your reasoning for Councillor Boyd to be selected for that position?
Deputy Mayor? Yep. Sure. I think Councillor Bowyer has proven to be an excellent councillor in his first term. He's done additional work to make him better at governance as well, such as his IOD directorship study, also the good decisions study, which has enabled him to lead the hearings committee, the district plan, and also too he's shown that he has great community support in the last election results. I also think it's important to have someone in the Deputy Mayor position who balances the Mayor and his different points of view and different background and different experiences, so that relationship can be a sounding board relationship and not necessarily one that you mutually agree on everything. We don't want a patsy in the role. So I'm very confident that Councillor Bowyer has shown that he is a very good councillor, that he represents the community, has their best at heart, and will be a good foil to my personality type, and will bring some strengths in areas that perhaps I don't have, and hopefully I can complement him in the role as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Narangi.
I note here that for the waste management committees that it's a councillor that's required, and I did see that further down when I put my hand up for it. Who makes that decision? How does that decision get made that it has to be a councillor?
The Local Government Act, unfortunately, because it's a committee, you have to have a councillor, and because it's a joint committee, there has to be one councillor, or there could be more than one, but it has to be at least a councillor that's on the joint committee. Yeah.
Councillor Flow?
The Finance, Risk and Assurance Committee, do we need, what work has been done to determine that we need an independent chair on that committee?
Audit New Zealand and Office of the Auditor General recommend an independent voice and view around an audit committee advising the council and bringing in external expertise, and to supplement the elected members' expertise that they bring to the table. And the chair role is up to the council, whether the independent person chairs or simply sits at the committee. But I think every council in New Zealand follows that advice and has an audit committee with an independent member on it. And there's a number of people around the country who offer their services and expertise as chairs of those committees. So having a broader view of the local government environment across the country in relationship with government departments, those externals bring that broader view into our council chamber.
Supplementary, thank you for the explanation. So we can actually have an independent member as part of that committee. It doesn't have to be an independent chair. And do you think that it would be useful to have a discussion around that committee structure, because we're obviously changing the appointments policy and the remuneration of that committee, that we should have see whether we need an independent chair versus an independent member? Because the biggest issue in my view of reading the reports is the audit side of things, which is covered under assurance now since we've changed the name of it. And I think that health and safety should be on the full council agenda for reasons that we have a direct responsibility as an officer under the Health and Safety Act, and I think that takes that out of audit and risk, and we've got health and safety committees which are operational, and it's about reporting that. So I do wonder whether there's actually the significance in having that independent chair. I'd like to have the discussion about whether we have an independent chair based on before we go out to market for what we're looking for.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Holmes?
Having been on council for a while and been through lots of councils where we had a chair from within the members, it was always good, but I have to say it's quite good having an independent person who actually has an idea of what other councils are doing as well. But I don't disagree with what Jamie's saying at the moment.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I have a question. We haven't yet got anyone for the Wellington Regional Waste Management and Minimisation Joint Committee, but I would like to thank you, Mahurangi, for making the offer. Is there anyone who would wish to be involved in that? If we can't make that decision at this stage, are we able to park that and remove that from today's decision?
Yes.
Okay, so we can separate that out.
Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Can I just point out, Your Worship, an error in Resolution 7. It's not an error, but it's not totally accurate. The 2019 to 2022 triennium should be changed to the last triennium, which was 22 to 25.
Thank you. Do we have a mover for the recommendation? Yep. Councillor Lennox. Seconded by Councillor Bowyer. Now we're open for discussion. Councillor Floyd.
So how do we, so the comment around finance, risk and assurance committee, so what is the process for deciding? Do we need to put that as part of the paper that we're deciding that we're going to have a discussion about it at that point in time, or do we just have that in the committee?
We'll probably tag that on to the end of the Audit and Risk Committee. So when the chair departs, we'll have that discussion. I think that might be an easier way of doing that. Point 4, let's have a look here.
So point 4, we've got approving the committee terms of reference. So if you wanted to change the chair from being an independent chair, then the terms of reference will need to be amended. But we can bring those back after, so we can approve these ones, and then when we go through the process, we can change those.
appreciate it, thank you.
Councillor Bowyer?
So, just trying to get, so we have one more audit and risk meeting with Philip, and then we move through the process, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. It's next week.
Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Bowyer on becoming Deputy Mayor, and just make the point that I think the most important thing about the Deputy Mayor is that they have to have a good working relationship with the Mayor, and therefore I'm a great believer if the Mayor recommends somebody that we can take confidence that the two people that at the top of the helm are going to work well together. So congratulations, Craig, I'm sure you do a great job.
Thank you,
Gary?
Gary.
Any further discussion? Great, we have a mover with Councillor Lennox, seconded by Councillor Bowyer. Noting that change, Harriet, 2.7, which would say the last triennium, not just
Do we want to
amendment.
change 6 as well, since we're not nominating anyone for appointment to the joint committee?
And we need to, and we need to remove 0.6. Okay, everyone happy with that? All those in favour?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Thank you for that good discussion.
Congratulations, Craig.
Just are we able to, for the Wellington Regional Wastewater, are we able to, going forward, get an idea of the time frames involved in that?
Yeah, we've had the job, the description of it. Karen, are you able to just find out how many meetings would be involved?
Yes, I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, I have actually asked that, and the
Just
regularity.
Check.
Thank you. We move to page 65, 5.5. The purpose of this report is to confirm the date and time of the first ordinary meeting of council and other council and committee meetings for the remainder of 2025. I'll hand over to Karen. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. The last of the procedural reports. We've got the dates set here for the following meeting and the one after that, and then we will bring it back as scheduled for next year. Happy to take any questions.
There are no questions. So the recommendation is, do I have a mover?
Yeah.
Councillor Holmes, a seconder. Councillor Goodwin. All those in favour? Is there any discussion? I keep forgetting that bit. Councillor Falloon.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, jumped ahead of you.
Discussion, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now we move on to page 68, 5.6, proposed alcohol control bylaw. I would ask Angela to come and present. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're bringing this paper today about the process of making a new bylaw, alcohol control bylaw. We have had a few discussions about this at previous meetings, and I'd like to introduce our Senior Policy Advisor, Sophie Bradley, who's going to give you a quick introduction.
Thanks, Angela. Tēnā koutou, Your Worship. I'll take the report as read and we'll just cover off a few key points from this. The report initiates the process of seeking your approval to replace the current alcohol control bylaw of 2018 with a new bylaw for a period of 12 months. This will ensure we maintain alcohol controls over the coming months while we start a full review of the bylaw. This will include consideration for the proposal to permanently address issues at Castle Point and Riversdale beaches. The report asks you to make 3 determinations under Section 155 of the LGA, that a bylaw is the most appropriate way of addressing the perceived problems, that the proposed bylaw is the most appropriate form of a bylaw, and that under the New Zealand Bill of Rights, that the limitations on the rights of residents imposed by the proposed bylaw are justified and proportionate in the context of the broader purpose of the bylaw. It also asks you to approve the targeted consultation on the proposed bylaw to run between 3rd November and 17th November. That's this coming Monday. The draft consultation document and proposed bylaw are attached to the report for your consideration. Feedback from this engagement will be reported to Council on 3rd December alongside the final bylaw. Any happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Councillor Falloon, then Maharangi.
So in the report there was a comment there around a vehicle ban labour weekend as well, being proposed as part of the bylaw.
So that would be part of Part 6 of the Wairarapa Consolidated Bylaw. We currently, alongside our temporary bans that we put in place each Labour weekend and Christmas, we use the 1974 Local Government Act to close the roads to support better control of those spaces. So what we would do as part of our 2026 review is look to see if they needed to be included in part of the traffic bylaw. Is there anything?
So it's in 2026, so that's in the whole bylaw, right?
Yeah.
Maharangi.
Is it possible to see the data that sits behind this, that you took about the police data on the reduction in crime? Are we able to see some of that data at some stage?
Yeah, we can provide that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Bowyer?
Just a question around, we talk about the page 90, the alcohol-free zone applying in King Elizabeth Park. I just want to confirm that the rugby and soccer club, that won't affect their ability to have an alcoholic drink after 9 p.m.
So that it does not apply to licensed premises, and they have licences on their premises.
I just want to confirm, just in case. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Malone?
I note that the temporary bylaw is in place because of, obviously something has to come into force for this summer period, otherwise it's abandoned. Is it possible to, so what major things are going to change, and is it possible to actually have the consultation which was around the permanent bylaw change? Because I think it could become a little bit confusing that you get consultation for this year and then you come out for more consultation next year around the same time.
I understand what you're saying there. The proposal to include Riversdale and Castle Point as a permanent, bans at Labour Day and Christmas are quite a significant change to the bylaw, and so that would trigger our significance and engagement approach around the special consultative. So that would put quite a lot of pressure on our timeframes to get the bylaw in place by the 12th of December. So when we were looking at our approach, we thought putting in place a one-year bylaw would allow us to have robust conversations with our key stakeholders out in our coastal communities about their needs in the new year, and then put those in place for the new bylaw in 2026. And that would have a longer term as well, that bylaw, so we wouldn't be coming back to the table for at least, I think, 5 to 10 years. We just need to,
So it's an obvious question, but you obviously consider all the consultations which are being done around all the things which are happening and determine whether, what the priority of consultation is. So, I feel like there's over-consultated. Would it be beneficial if this was longer than 1 year, the temporary bylaw, or so there's 1 year all you can do?
So the bylaw has the provision to have a small extension under the Act, so it would, if we didn't get a new bylaw in place, there's still that kind of bridging period, but really the impetus is on us getting this full review completed next year, because we understand that our communities want assurances around, especially around Labour Day and Christmas and New Year.
And we are giving it priority status for early next year.
Are there any other questions? Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Bowyer, seconded Councillor Lennox. We're open for discussion. I'd just like to start that. I noticed there was a real problem in Riversdale in the weekend. It's all over social media. For Labour weekend there was crowding and there was alcohol on the streets and there were smashed bottles and litter and noise problems, and I've had a few residents contact me. And the general commentary is that even when these laws are in place, it still, doesn't stop some social misbehaviour, and that the real problem is police presence, that there isn't one. So, you can put a rule in place, but if no one's there to enforce it, and this often comes across the council table, Henley Lake's a good example with people who stay overnight. It's all very to say you can only stay for 3 days, but if no one's there to enforce it, herein lies the problem. So that's a discussion, I guess, for the police to have with the community, but also for us to give the police feedback on this. So I just wanted to bring it up because it was a real big problem in the weekend. So you can put all the rules you want in place, but you still can't control behaviour. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, it really comes back to discipline amongst the people. I just don't like seeing at blank rules for an area stopping everybody from having some fun, but that's fine as long as those rules are adhered to a point. But when the police have a presence at Castle Point and Riversdale, there's hardly any problems, and they used to be out there. Jonathan Rocker used to stay out there for quite some time. It was great, and it worked, and I'd like to encourage that, rather than seeing these blanket bans on everything. I don't know, there's no easy answer to it, but the police is a good start.
Yeah, Councillor Flo.
Yeah, we were at Riversdale on the weekend, and it was actually probably less than what happens at New Year, but it was quite, it's parental responsibility. It's people giving their houses to their children and not letting them do stuff. So it's quite isolated. The bad behaviour was quite isolated this time from what the normal people wandering around and stuff. And you are going to get that as part of a thing. So I don't know whether further road bans are going to make any difference, but the police were there on the Saturday. There is commentary that people rang the police and didn't get any response, but they make a decision around what the priority is. But I think we need to be careful that we don't blow Riversdale out of proportion. It's not whangamata, and it was one family letting their children invite some people along for the weekend, which caused the majority of the trouble around the place. But I do agree that the worst thing we can have is some vigilante behaviour happening as well. So it does need to be considered, but I'm not sure how much of it's council responsibility.
Yeah, agreed. Any other comments? Discussion? No?
Sorry, so potentially maybe we front foot the Riversdale thing with a community meeting out there and go and get the discussion from the police, get the police along there and say, righto, we've got these bans in place. It's as part of the consultation, and say, what's your view? And what do you want us to do? And what can we do or not do? And show some leadership about it and see whether that just helps remind people that it's their actual responsibility what their kids do, how much booze they buy them and all the things they do with it.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Do we have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Falloon. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Holmes. All those in favour? The motion is carried. And now we move on to page 93, 5.7, the annual report. David. And we have Audit New Zealand online. David, will you introduce our guest, please?
Good morning, councillors and staff. I'd like to introduce Masterton. He's our Audit Director from Audit New Zealand, newly appointed to our audit for this annual report. I'll come back to Sefton. I'll just introduce the report and give you some information about the additional pages that have arrived today or last night. So the recommendation in the report principally is to adopt the 2024-25 annual report for the Masterton District Council. We will publish the report within 1 month, which is a requirement, and also produce a summary version of the report. And we were hoping to have a draft of that summary version to you today, but we have run out of time to do that, but we will circulate that as soon as it's available. The summary also is required to carry an audit certificate or opinion with it. And the last part of the recommendation is to approve give the Mayor and Chief Executive approval to make any minor and final changes as requested by Audit New Zealand, or minor edits, spelling mistakes and so on, prior to publication of the document. So in terms of the report, we've circulated in Thursday's agenda a draft copy of the full report, and you will hopefully have had a chance to read that. We've had changes since then, right up until this morning, and Audit in particular requesting additional things or changes to items in the document. Hence, there's a number of pages that you've been circulated today. There is a final audit opinion, an unqualified opinion, which Sefton will speak to. So that's good. That's a tick, an achievement. The document includes a section of highlights and achievements that's detailed in the commentary, and each activity level is described, the financial and non-financial performance measures, the achievements in relation to being a public benefit entity and meeting financial reporting standards are all required in the report. It becomes quite a big and weighty document when you add in the local government financial reporting and prudence regulations. That is an additional requirement on top of accounting requirements to disclose network assets, insurance cover, the rating base, a series of benchmarks that are described in graphical format, and funding impact statements, which are an alternate financial reporting statement. So those are required under the local government financial reporting regulations. Overall, the Council made very good progress in terms of meeting a range of projects, ticking projects off, delivering services, staying within the budgeted LTP expectations, and achieved 90% of the non-financial performance measures. The report provides details of some of the variances as to where the plan numbers were set versus where we've ended with an accounting surplus. But overall, $46.3 million of rates revenue has been fully utilised. There are overs and unders, but there's no surplus rates needed or carried forward. It's been fully allocated. Capital expenditure of $39.4 million versus a budget of 47.9, which is 80% of the total capital expenditure. And a large proportion of that has been allocated or spent on the airport runway reseal and taxiway extension work, which is a project that was started more than 5 years ago, but it's come to fruition largely this year, and still has some work to finish. And the animal shelter new build project is another significant portion of the capital expenditure work. The Council's achieved a balanced budget, and 118% of essential services benchmark. Now that means we've spent more on new asset additions, 118% of the value of depreciation on those assets. And that's essential assets services, as in roading, waters, and just roading and 3 waters. The other things were the cyclone impacts from the 2023 cyclone and the recovery work to rebuild roads impacted on last year's expenditure items, and the postal buyouts of flood-affected properties in Tanui was a large portion of work that was completed in that financial year. Some government subsidy to offset the costs of those buyouts, and additional resilience funding that came from the government to assist the council to recover from the cyclones. The document's been audited. We've had auditors for just on a month going through the document and working their way through what was presented to them on the early October, right through to last night in terms of questions and feedback. So the audit opinion is in the documentation that you have. The one item that's landed on the desk this morning is the note 34 post-balance date events. There's been a request for an additional piece of wording relating to the water services delivery plan and whether DIA have accepted it or not, or adopted it. And so the words reflect that the Secretary for Local Government has indicated our service delivery plan is still being reviewed. There's no indication it will not be accepted. Until there is acceptance, the future delivery of water services remains uncertain beyond 30th of June 2027. So that's simply an accounting requirement that says, are there any events after the 30th of June that you're aware of that affect your financial going concern? And the adoption of a water services delivery plan will affect the future delivery of council services, but what we're saying is it's still uncertain until DIA actually comes back to us and accepts the water services delivery plan. So that's extent of my report. I can take questions now, or we could go to Sefton.
I think if we go to Sefton, please,
Okay.
and then we'll take questions. Thank you. Welcome, Sefton. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. No, Your Worship, is it? And Council. Just wanted to reiterate what David has already said regarding the audit, and probably just outline the audit process at a high level. We intend to, we propose to issue an unmodified audit opinion, which practically means that we're satisfied with the financial statements and that the statement of service performance present fairly the council's activity for the year to 30 June 2025, and the same applies for the financial position being reported. I think the only thing I wanted to point out is, while it is an unmodified opinion, we have included an emphasis of matter paragraph drawing attention to the disclosure in note 34 about the developments in the local water done well reforms, and that's really it's not unusual for this council. It is for all councils going through the process and awaiting DIA or minister approval. So nothing to be alarmed about. It's just a standard wording that we've got for all councils going through the process at the moment. Once council, in terms of the process here on in, once council adopts the financial statements with all the proposed amendments that's been tabled by David, we'll receive a signed copy and the signed representation letter. We'll have a quick look over it and be able to release the audit opinion as it is now. The only thing I wanted to cover off was the areas of focus that we included in the audit plan. There were several, and these included going through the fair value assessment of the property, plant and equipment, including the infrastructural assets. This is a non-revaluation year, so we just look at the assessment to see that there's still that the fair values reflected, what's been carried in the book, reflect their fair values, and we're pretty comfortable with the position reported. We also covered off the service performance reporting and the performance information. That was an area of focus this year, given that there had been changes in the auditing standard. And again, we're comfortable that Council has actually complied and met those requirements in its reporting. We also looked at generally the accounting for impairment, capitalisation of costs and completed assets. And again, we're quite happy or satisfied that the work in progress and the projects reported as work in progress have been properly capitalised and that as they should be. And the final thing that we focused on was also just the risk of management override of internal controls. There's a standing risk in any audit, and we're happy to say that there's nothing that has come to our attention from the tests that we have conducted during the audit. I think that's pretty much all I had to cover off now, and I did have a draft report that I intended to provide, but the process was actually quite tight this year. And I just wanted to thank David and the team at Council for the support that they've given us. There's a new director on this audit and a new audit manager, so we've gone through quite thoroughly the accounts and the reports of Council, being new to it, and we've obviously got some recommendations which we will then share with the management in terms of things that could be worked on going forward.
Thank you, Sefton. Are there any questions of either Sefton or David? We'll start with Councillor Goodwin.
Just that last point you made, so when do we get the audit management report? I assume that comes to members.
I've got a high-level draft that I can actually release today, but I just wanted to give management the opportunity to confirm the accuracy of it. So very, as soon as they have the opportunity to respond to the findings or to the report, it'll be released.
We'll bring it to the audit and risk or finance audit and risk in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. And the only other thing is the NZTA has a performance target of 2% rehabilitation, 9% resealing. And the audit office mentioned a year or so ago that quite a few councils aren't reaching that target, and we're one of them. I would like us council to have some sort of discussion, I don't know, from NZTA or from audit of, why their standards different to what we achieve and what we detail on, say, page 137 when you go through our report.
Sorry, that might have to be something that will be taken back to management to try to explain that. The variance, I only report on what's there based on the records and information that we have audited.
I can add to that in that the council produces an LTP, and in that LTP it has a budget expenditure, and that's dictated by what NZTA are prepared to fund our council in a roading program, and we set performance measures in terms of targets of achievement of road reseal or road shape correction, and we report against whether we've met the targets that we set ourselves in our long-term plan. NZTA input is the roading program total dollars that they're prepared to, our area to spend on our roads. We don't adopt their performance measure information. So where we can achieve a level of performance with the money that's available, we'll report against it. And if we fall short because we don't have the funding, that discussion is not something that Audit New Zealand get involved in, or we can report against, because we're reporting against what's in our LTP.
Any other questions? I'll go to Councillor Lennox, then Councillor Nelson.
Thank you. I've actually got 3 questions, if that's right, David. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Auditor. Just around the front page, just under investments, you've got miscellaneous. I'm just interested to know the examples of the miscellaneous investments, there's a percentage of them, and then also other revenue, there's a miscellaneous component there as well. Sorry, do you want me to give you the page?
I haven't got it in front of me.
Oh, sorry, it's the pie graph, but I'm just intrigued to know, I don't like words like miscellaneous, so...
Is that an income?
Yeah, so investment, we've got miscellaneous, just I'd like to know some of the examples of what that would be, and then other revenue as well. I'll give you the page.
Investment income is interest earned on our investments.
Okay.
So that's money in the bank, or money on deposit, or money invested with, at the moment, Fisher Funds Institutional hold about $7.5 million of an investment fund. So the earnings on that...
just the interest, yeah?
It's the growth in the investment value.
Yeah.
So that's where investment income comes from. Other income is across a whole range of council activities. It might be solid waste gate fee charging. It's sale of bailage at the water treatment plant. It's recovery of building consent charges, planning charges, dog fees. Every area of council has a level of user pays or cost recovery that's not rates.
Okay, cool. And then my next question was just around, you know how we set our budget and there'll be figures allocated to that for the year, and then that obviously leads to determining our rates requirement. And then we get to the end of the year and we haven't spent any of that money that was allocated. So I guess my question is, can we, because it'd be like a zero, you might have 110 grand put in the budget for X, Y, Z and we've spent zero of it. I'm just trying to work out, can we be better at setting the budget so we ensure we do spend it? Because obviously, as we set the budget, that affects the amount of rates we're going to call upon from our ratepayers. So if we can get the estimation correct at the beginning to ensure, it just seems a shame that we're asking for the rate percentages that we're asking for when actually we're then not spending the money. Does that make sense? Or am I speaking silly?
We are spending the money. We set the rates at the beginning so that the budgets are what the rates levy is set on, and that's in June each year. That amount of money is set and we collect it over the 4 quarters of rates instalments. So we can't get any more rates. It's set at the beginning. And as we go through the year, we report back to you how much of that rates funding has been spent year to date. And by the end of the year, if we've done what we've said we would do in the plan, we will have spent all of those rates. Where it makes up about 60% of our total revenue, we need that money to deliver the services that council delivers. And there might be overs and unders in actuals versus budgets in each line item. But overall, all of that rates funding is needed. If there's an area like roading where we might underspend, we've got a deficit in our flood damage fund that underspend can go into and bring that deficit back up. And we are funding from rates at the moment $500,000 a year to bring that deficit back into a black. situation where we have a fund for flood damage emergency works. So there's always something the council can use the funding for or put aside for. And then when we look at next year's budget, the need for rates, we take account of anything that we haven't spent or done in the current year, so that we don't fund it again. If we haven't spent it, we don't fund it. We don't allow for rates funding again. So I know the point of your question, and I think we do take account of those budgeting variances and unders and overs, and don't double dip when it comes to setting the rates next year.
Thank you, David.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Nelson, you were next, then Councillor Falloon, then Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, David. Just, I'm no accountant, so I need to ask these questions. For the next 2 years, water will appear in this document, won't it? 2026 and 2027.
Yes, the annual reports for both those years, the delivery of water services will be part of that.
Yeah, but not 2028, it won't be, will it?
We'll adopt a long-term plan in June 27, but that long-term plan won't have the water in it. Yep. So we've got a plan for next year that we're starting work on now for 26-27, which is year 3 of our long-term plan. That will have waters in it, but it's only 1 year's plan. The long-term plan for the 10 years from 27 won't have waters.
Right. And bearing in mind that all the reports I've read, at least over the last year, suggest that we have been managing our water very effectively, we could expect even greater levels of efficiencies and costs, or lesser costs for our community, having made the decision to go down the local water down well CCO decision. That's what we would be hoping for, won't we, as a council? The last council made that decision, so this council would be hoping for, and our community will be hoping for, lesser costs for our community. That would be the reason why, basically, we made that decision. So that's what we could be hoping for and expecting.
The council's decision in terms of 3 waters is dictated by the legislation that we were required to follow, and the options available within that legislation the council assessed, and working together with the other neighbouring councils with a joint CCO was the best option. And whether that results in lower costs for water delivery or more efficiencies by working together, that would be what we would intend in terms of setting up the new entity to make it a success.
Yeah, so those long-term forecasts that we saw that were presented to the last council should be a good guide to us as to what to expect under the new CCO when it exists.
Based on the best information we have modelling the future, yes.
So we should always be bearing that in mind as a council looking forward. For all other costs, just bearing that in mind.
I'm not sure.
So, we should be having that, the models, the costs that our community's paying for water, owned by the CCO, which we own, we should be collectively looking at those costs in terms of all costs for our community.
Yeah, can I interrupt? Tim's point, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is that even though that cost is moving to a CCO, as council we need to keep it in mind that our community is still paying for that while we're addressing our costs moving forward. Is that your point, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also too, and I respect the point, it's just not relevant to the audit of the annual report though. But that was what Tim was getting at. Even though it's moving to somewhere else, as councillors we need to keep in mind our community is still paying for water.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of not though, because I'm referring to information in this document and looking at how it will impact upon us in future. So we could look to see some level of consistency or even more consistent or more efficient services. That's what we'd be hoping for, won't we?
I think that statement of expectations will probably speak to that in a bit more detail, Councillor, and that will be drafted by the forum, so you will all elect our person who will weigh in on that.
It's great that as a council we'll be looking at those collective costs for our community.
Thank you. And we were Councillor Flow and then Councillor Goodwin.
I have a question for the auditor. Is there anything, so first two questions to the auditor. So roughly 6 months, 5 months to produce the annual report, and you did mention that there was from 30th of June to now. So, and you also did mention that it was you're new to the audit process for Masterton District Council. Is there any in your report and your letter to management around the annual report and the audit, are there any actions that you think we need to take to make the process move smoother? Are we resourcing this right, and to not have the last minute rush, which all audits generally have, but this one seems quite substantial?
Did Councillor want me to respond to that?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Councillor. I think, firstly, you probably correct the misunderstanding that I'm new to local councils. That is pretty much what I am experienced, and my experience is substantially from the bottom of the South Island. So I am quite familiar with audits of local councils. I understand the delay. It is quite a few months after balance date. The statutory deadline for all councils is signing is the end of October. With CCOs, if you have them, by the end of September. The issues or the tightness or the being able to deliver under pressure at this time of the year. Like I said, there's been a new director and a new audit manager on the audit of council, and it's like any audit or new person on the job. We turn over and look over every stone and look underneath and try as best as we can to understand how the council works, and obviously reports. So some of those recommendations have been looked at with a new set of eyes, and we've worked closely with David and the team at council to update the reporting in line with current requirements, and that's part of this process that we're going through. As to whether we could actually bring that forward, yes, there's always an opportunity. And yeah, I wouldn't want to put my mind and say that we could do it, bring it even forward. We are part of the Wellington office, which is heavily focused on government and departments. And yeah, it is something that we would like to improve on, but we'll have to work with council. The best thing we could do at the moment is provide feedback on the things that, in a way forward on some of the things that, how we've worked, and some of the findings that we've got to improve the reporting process. Having said that, council has been very good and very responsive to what the findings in our audit.
Councillor Goodwin.
Just a question for David, I would imagine. The rec centre rates requirement went up 20% because of the electricity. With them paying their electricity, I don't understand why it requires more rates.
The contract with the facilities management operator at this rec centre included a cost share arrangement, an open book arrangement, where if they made a deficit in the Masterton operation, we would share in that deficit. So the contract has been in place for 5 years, I think. the new contract started from the 1st of July this year, and there's no cost sharing involved. So the fact that the electricity costs were higher, they ran a deficit on the overall operation of the rec centre. They shared the first, I think, $70,000 of that loss. The council shared the balance, took up the balance. So we had a contract that allowed for council to incur some of the cost, carry some of the risk in terms of the operating costs of that facility.
And so going forward, that is not provided for again.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Councillor Bowyer?
Yeah, you'll need your book for this. Page 150. It's note 7, other expenses.
150 of the agenda.
Yeah. Other expenses, grants. How do grants become expenses? It's got me stuffed, because I'm not an accountant's really.
To be, I don't want to be facetious, but we've got income and we've got expenditure.
Yep.
This is money going out, so we're paying it in grants to other organisations. So in terms of analysing our income and our expenditure in the report, this sits firmly in the expenditure area, and there's a requirement in one of the accounting standards that says these are the things you must disclose as separate items in other expenses. So you will see that there's a figure at the bottom of that note of 31 million, which is everything else. The things above it are the things that we have to disclose. So we have to disclose the amount of donations the council gave, the amount of grants the council's given out to other organisations, and ACC levies and ceremonies and presentations. So those are the things that we have to report against, and we've decided to put 4 different categories of grant types, because we have community development, we have arts and culture, we have economic development. So our grants can be categorised into the area of the community that we want to support and provide services with the council funding that we give them.
So just adding that up in my head, that's over $1.5 million worth of grants.
Where those organisations, that there might be Destination Wairarapa, Aratoi, they're providing a service within our community, and the council supports that service with funding.
Yeah, no, just wanted to clarify that figure, that's all.
Councillor Flow?
David, my question is about the statement of cash flows on page 126. What are the implications of the $13 million difference in closing cash position from what was budgeted with regard to our budget for 25-26, we're at the moment, plus future rates requirements coming forward through in the next annual plan process?
So that you're pointing out the difference between the budgeted cash equivalents and the closing position?
And the actual, and what are the implications of that in terms of, and what are the implications of that in terms of our budget and actual, what decisions are being made in this financial year, because you obviously would have hoped that you had a better cash position, and then what are the implications for the next annual plan with regard to that deficit between actual and budget?
The council looks to budget according to the operating costs of the organisation, and not on a cash accounting basis. So the cash flow statement, when we budget, allows for a build-up of cash from depreciation reserves, and in this case we've spent more from those reserves funds, and therefore our investment funds are less than what we budgeted. So we've used more reserve funds allocated to a number of infrastructure projects in the water and wastewater pipe area, the resilience projects. Spent that out of our reserve funds. Therefore, our closing cash balance of reserves is lower than what we budgeted for. We take account of that in the next round of funding, and if the capital requirements for our renewals investment in water and wastewater in particular are more than what we have in our reserve funds, we need to borrow to do the work. So the implication of running down reserves is that more borrowing is needed if we need to spend that money on that asset maintenance work. Or put up rates in future years to a larger extent to fund that work. So that's a council budgeting decision for the future. That it may show in a cash flow statement here that we've reduced our reserve balances, but the implications for the next annual plan round are something we go through in our next budgeting work.
Is it a supplementary question?
So, supplementary question, please. Sorry, I'm not a parliament, are we? Forgive me. So the receipts from other revenue, I can't see either, a $4 million difference. Is the other revenue, is that the use of the reserves funds? Is that what you classify that as?
Sorry, which line item are you?
Receipts from other revenue and the cash flows from operating activities.
From our operating activities.
Yeah, down actual 8. Is that where the use of reserve funds and depreciation comes into the cash flow statement?
No, that would normally come. It would come through in the capital expenditure areas, and the cash being applied. I need to work through the response to explain the difference between the actual and the budget number. The budgets are very much based on an estimate before we start the financial year, and we run through the financial year and get to the end, and we don't budget on a cash flow. We don't operate with a cash flow. We operate with a operating activity, capital and operating budgets, and use accruals and the cash flow statement is not a statement that we report against on a regular basis because it doesn't include everything. It's only the cash movements.
Councillor Collins.
Kia ora. I'm interested in opportunities where we can potentially save money for the council and for our ratepayers. And on your point, Councillor Goodwin, about the rec centre, how do we ensure or instill key performance indicators for the contractor to kind of mitigate the risk of falling back into the same place where we have been, where we've had this blowout, and how do we ensure that the contractor is actually, actively doing things to ensure that the balance is, it's balanced. The balance is balanced, and what do we do as a council in order to do that? Also, I just wanted to note that, just some other investigative opportunities to save money or to increase our revenue through the projects that we have. Also, in regards to what Councillor Bowyer said about the grants, does the rec centre receive a grant? Sorry, it's a lot.
Answer that one. Rec centre doesn't receive a grant. We own the building, we run the facility, we pay a facilities management contractor to operate the facility, employ the staff, and perform everything required to keep that facility open. We employ a second contractor to maintain the plant and equipment, so the heat exchangers, the pumps and all of the equipment that keeps the air and the water temperature at the right levels and the water quality at the right levels is we pay contractors to do that. And we have contracts that have a dollar figure in them, and that's what we pay. The risk around cost blowouts has been removed because of the new contract that the current contract has been awarded, and that started on the 1st of July. So there's no cost sharing if they have some additional costs that and the electricity's been taken out of the contract, so the risk on electricity pricing is with the council, and we've set a contract in place with our electricity provider for a 5-year period. We tagged it onto a contract and it runs for another 2 years. So that's fixed price. We know what that electricity is going to be, and we have it in our budget. Any labour cost blowout or other risks are the contractor's risk now.
So over the next 5 years, is there opportunity for us to investigate electrification and provision of solar power to support a reduction of potential future costs?
Yes.
Wareka, we're actually looking at that. Thank you.
There is a report coming soon around the whole recreation centre condition rate assessments and opportunities. Strategy.
Councillor Bloom?
I'd just like to commend David and the team and the auditors on 191-page annual report. It's a lot of, and the staff, it's a lot of information, and notwithstanding the questions, they've done well to get it out in the time that they've had available to do that. So I'd like to say good job so far.
Thank you. Councillor Caffel, then Councillor Goodwin.
David, one of the things that strikes me right through the last 3 years has been the impact that Cyclone Gabrielle has had on our rates, and to me it's been underplayed. Have you got any idea in terms of percentage what Gabrielle would have, in terms of our rates, in terms of our increases, would have meant to us?
I haven't got that number off the top of my head, but we have spent $16 million on remediating roads, and subsidies from NZTA have funded approximately 70% of that. So our 30% has come from debt, so additional debt that the council's taken on to fund our share because it wasn't in our budgets. The interest cost on that debt is sheeted home to ratepayers. Similarly with the fossil buyouts, we had a budget of 2.5 million to achieve the purchase of the identified properties, 50% government funding, and we've received that. The other approximately 1.4 million is borrowed, so more debt, more interest costs to ratepayers, and so I suppose those are the two main impacts that we've felt. We've also benefited from government funding for resilience projects, and the top of Whariama Hall has solar panels. They were provided by resilience funding to make that community more resilient and have their power supply guaranteed by solar battery backup. The Riversdale seawall at the exit of Motuaireka Stream was funded by the government resilience funding to maintain beach access for the surf club vehicles onto the beach. Investigations into the Coburn Street Colombo Road catchment and remediation of manholes and water ingress from properties and stormwater has been funded partly by government money. So it's not all ratepayers funding, there's some government response funding, but those cyclones in January, February 23 did have a major impact on our activities and on the organisation's response.
Just to follow through on that, David, it would be fair to say then that, when we're looking at rates and we're looking at annual reports and whatever, when we have a weather event that comes out of nowhere, there's stuff all we can do about it, but it's going to cost.
Yes. And we don't carry a resilience fund really to respond to that. We have had a eroding damage, flood damage fund. We use that up and we're trying to rebuild that at the moment. But largely, if the council needs to respond, we've got debt headroom to be able to do that.
Councillor Goodwin?
Just the personnel costs, I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. The employee benefit liabilities, page 157, that's, by my reckoning, about 8.5% of the personnel cost budget, which is quite a bit higher than when you were talking to us about it, Ben. Am I interpreting it right? The staff holiday provision, sick leave, alternative leave provision, staff retirement, gratuities, comes to about 1.2 or something like that million. Yeah. Am I reading that right?
I was more discussing the medical insurance, and that includes leave and super, isn't it?
Yeah, the liability is holiday pay not taken, and that's gone down from the previous year, despite the increase in payment. So the overall liability has been reduced, which is a good thing. The council is actively working on encouraging staff with leave balances to take leave.
So I shouldn't be, I can see my own mistake, I shouldn't be adding the holiday provision into there. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? No? Thank you very much, Sefton and David, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to echo Councillor Falloon's comments too, to just say that's a great achievement to you and your finance team to get an unmodified audit opinion. So I'd like to thank you and your team for all the hard work and certainly respect the work that you do and the detail that you provide. So well done.
Thanks, Your Worship. And I'd like to also thank my team publicly, the staff who have worked hard on the document, and Tanya and Matt, and the whole organisation actually inputs into the numbers. The asset expenditure we account for in this document is all coming from the staff who are out there spending that money on improving the assets and making sure we have the right information is a team effort from the whole organisation.
Terrific work. Thank you very much. Can we just show our appreciation? There you go, Councillor.
I thought we were going into discussions after questions. So can I just...
I won't be here for answering.
We need to move in second.
Oh, okay. And then...
Do we have a mover for the report? Councillor Caffel and seconded by Councillor Holmes. Is there any further discussion? Wareke?
Oh, yes, sorry. I was about to have a mint. Yes, I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that we've talked about these highlights that are occurring in the annual report, and I wonder if there is a communication strategy around the highlights and how we share that, because coming from outside of the council into the council has been a bit of an eye-opener for me as a councillor, because now I'm seeing, that there are things that are happening, but I just don't think that we're telling our story well enough out externally. is there an opportunity to pull all the highlights out of the annual report and have them appear separately? And, you know, how do we ensure that the community are getting the story of what the work is happening inside the council? And I know I've said it already, but our communication strategy and the way that we communicate with our people needs to be better. And, you know, if that's what we're doing and if that's how well we're doing it, then we need to ensure that that reflects what the community is seeing from the council as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Is there anything we can do to simplify the annual report with some of the legislative requirements? Like I just on page 99 of it, it's, you know, it's got the, I think it's 99. It's got the alcohol fees need to be reported under the Sale of Alcohol Act 2013 and stuff like that. Is there any way we can take some of that legislative requirements out and report it separately so that the annual report is around council activities and operations and rather than an omnibus of legislative requirements?
It's a question and we're in discussion, but we can certainly...
I can change
the answer is probably no on that, but because we're legislating, aren't we, really, of how we present these reports at the moment. So if there's a smarter way of doing it, we're going to be looking for it.
Great.
Certainly assure you of that.
Any other discussion?
Sorry. So the design work for the annual report, is it done in the house?
Yes.
And do there have to be so many pages? Because I see that there's a lot of blank pages. 190 pages is a lot for a person to kind of like get their head around reading. Maybe if we condense it a little bit, be a few less pages. Also, will it be available in hard copy or can people only access it via the website?
There'll be a summary done of the annual report, so that'll come out shortly. And they will be available at our library and customer service centres. Hard copy if they're required, but normally we tend to encourage people to view it online for affordability reasons at the end of the day. So.
Okay, do I have a... Thank you very much, Dylan. Did you have
just
discussion?
As the mover of the recommendation, Your Worship, I'd just like to follow on the comments that have already been made regarding the work of David and his financial team, but also all staff for your contribution to that annual report. We're working in a local government environment which is really challenging, and there's a lot of councils around the country in the last 12 months have had real struggle getting their annual reports out, and I think for us to come up with an annual report like this with an unmodified opinion is something really special, and probably more special now than it's ever been because of the difficulties that local government is going through. So I think really we don't want to underestimate just what a tremendous job staff have done on this. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
So I'd just like to clarify to the auditor, sorry, I didn't mean to imply that you didn't have expertise in local government audit. It was just the fact you made the comment about a new audit director and manager. That was it. So just in case it's noted, I've been critical.
Thank you.
One more for me, sorry. Who quality assures the te reo Māori in the annual report? Or also translates?
So we're in discussion, so I'll clarify that a little bit afterwards if we can. So yeah, we would normally do that through question time, but I can give you that answer afterwards if that's okay.
So we have a mover with Councillor Caffel. Do we have a seconder? Yeah. Councillor Bowyer?
No. It was Holmes who did it.
Oh, Councillor Holmes. I apologise. All those in favour?
Aye.
And the motion is carried. Thank you very much. What we're going to do is we're going to move in. Thank you very much, Sefton. We're going to move into public excluded. Can I have a mover for that, please?
Can I just query? In the past, I believe we've had this discussion, the PE discussion, in public. It's sort of the ultimate test of transparency in some respects, but I'm just wondering, does this need, I mean, on page 161 in the annual report is the full report of what everyone gets paid. Does this need
Can I get feedback from around the table, please? What does anyone support? Councillor Goodwin's proposal?
I'm fine to talk about it in public. It's public knowledge anyway. It doesn't bother me whatsoever.
What is the reason for excluding?
Well, let's get a consensus, please. Those who want to do it in public?
It's stated on the report, the reasons for moving into
Yeah.
excluded.
Those who wanted to remain in public?
There's no public
Yeah.
here.
That doesn't bother me.
That's fair enough request, we'll bring it into
But
public.
if it's in the report and it's legislatively required,
No, it's a choice.
okay?
So we'll bring it into public, we'll get a mover and a seconder, and move that into public, we'll then have a break. Okay, because we've been going for a little while and we'll come back and finish that.
Can we have a break first?
Yeah, we're going
We have a break first and then come back.
Yeah, we're going to
discuss that. I'd
Yes.
just like to check on the privacy.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll break for 15 minutes.
Cool.
Thank you.